Hello internets. Well, since my last video, some people have asked me what is actually on my to-be-read pile. Why is my pile so big? Well, my pile is, I've got it all piled here, my pile is like this big. It's quite big because I've been working really hard at writing and it takes many, many hours a day, and then you get to the end of the day and you're like, oh my god, I don't want to read. It's the last thing I want to do is read. And mostly because, especially if I'm in my editor head, while I'm like editing my own work, the first thing I do is open up someone else's book and go, that's not a choice I would have made. And not that you need to be in a special frame of mind to read, but you do have to kind of dump out of your own writer head to be able to get into reading. And last year I was doing so much writing, and to be fair, I was on so many painkillers that reading was very difficult. So this year I have promised myself that I am finally going to get through my TBR pile. So here is what is on my TBR pile. Right now I have Alan Merrick's The Night They Met, which is the follow-up to The Day They Met, which is a book, a series of short stories about how John Watson met Sherlock Holmes. And the conceit is that Sherlock Holmes and John Watson, no matter where you put them, no matter what era, no matter what country, no matter what situation you put them in, they will always meet one another, and they will always become the greatest of partners, either a friendship or a working relationship, or in the case of The Night They Met, sometimes romantic relationships. I'm really looking forward to this one. I plan to start this one while I'm out and off on a trip to visit my brother this week. So that's on my TBR pile. I have this book, A Prince of the Captivity by John Buchan, which, as you can see, is an antique book. I picked it up. It was in the decor section of like a secondhand shop, a charity shop, and I thought it was really neat. And I read the first couple pages and I was like, oh my god, this is a story I'm actually hooked on. So it was published in Edinburgh, and it was published in 1936. So I'm really looking forward to reading this. It just seems really interesting. I have no idea what it's about. I deliberately have not looked up what the book is about, and I'm really excited to be reading somebody's work from 1936. It's going to be really nifty. I have, from the same shop, from the same decor era, I have an antique version, and it's quite a mess actually. There are pages falling out of it, like this. Oh dear. But I have an antique copy of The Child's History of England by Charles Dickens. And I don't know if this is a first printing, but because of the condition that the book is in, I mean, the edges are really foxed. It's actually gotten quite dark around the edges. The glue is crumbling. I actually do believe this might be a first edition, which is quite exciting. And I picked it up simply because the final line of this book is fabulous. I always go and read the last line of a book before I decide to buy it. And this is great. So Dickens is talking about the succession at this point, and the final paragraph of this book is, William IV succeeded George IV in the year 1830 and reigned 7 years. Queen Victoria, his niece, the only child of the Duke of Kent, and the fourth son of George III, came to the throne on the 20th of June, 1837. She was married to Prince Albert of Saxe-Gotha on the 10th of February, 1840. She is very good and much beloved. And so I end, like the crier, with God save the Queen. I mean, how perfect is that? That's amazing. Bless you, Charles Dickens. You big fat nerd, you. I love it. So I'm looking forward to reading that. Again, from the exact same area of the same shop, I picked up a copy of Cousin Phyllis and Other Tales by Mrs. Gaskell. Mrs. Gaskell, that would be Elizabeth Gaskell, who was writing just after Jane Austen. They didn't really overlap. She was a decade or two later, but she wrote The Amazing North and South and Cranford. And I really, really enjoyed the mini-series for both of those. So when I had the opportunity to pick up a Gaskell, I absolutely wanted to do it. And I'm actually quite excited that this is going to be Gaskell Tales that I've never read. I do want to read North and South one day, but we didn't learn. That's not one of the books that we were taught in school. In Canada, we did, Alice Munro and Margaret Atwood and and you know, all those great stories, or the stories of Jean Craighead George and Farley Mowat that are set in the country. And we didn't really get Jane Austen or Elizabeth Gaskell or any of the great British writers in school. So I am quite excited about reading this book. And I'm just looking for the copyright, but I don't see a copyright page in this edition. So I don't know what year this book was published. No, it's not even in the foreword. Oh well, we'll see. And here it is here. So I'm quite looking forward to that one as well. I was given these 3 books by James Bow. So since moving into the area, I've become nice friends with James Bow and his wife Erin Bow of The Scorpion Rules and Sorrow's Knot and Plain Kate. And James is a writer as well. I actually have read one of his unpublished books, The Night Girl, that he's working very hard on tightening up and finding representation for. I have seen the cover of his new book, Icarus Down, with Scholastic. Damn, that's a good cover. Wow. But I had never read anything else by him, so he actually showed up to my book launch with books for me. So he gave me The Young City. There we go. The Young City, which is then followed by Fathom 5, which is then followed by The Unwritten Girl. And these are called the Unwritten Books. And I have no idea what they're about. I've actually made a point of not reading the back cover copy because I just want to read them and enjoy them, and I don't really want to know what they're about. I want James to surprise me because James always surprises me with his writing. Every time I think I know where his story's going, it goes somewhere else. So I almost don't want to spoil myself by reading the back of these books. So there's those books. I picked this up at Glad Day Books. I was there talking to the owners about appearances and signings and things, and I went to go browse the shelves as one does in a bookstore, and of course I have the chronic inability to leave a bookstore empty-handed, and so I picked this up, and I'm really excited about that. Women Who Run with Werewolves, edited by Pam Kesey, by Cleus Press. But it has stories by Ursula Le Guin, Renee Charles, Susie McKee-Charnas, Melanie Tem, Charlie Jacob. I'm really excited about this because I kind of really like werewolves. I like vampires a lot, and I like werewolves a lot. And I haven't read a lot of werewolf fiction recently. I've had an actually terrible dearth of it. So I'm really looking forward to being able to jump into these short stories. And what I do love about short story anthologies is that you can, just read one story over breakfast with a cup of tea and then put the book down and feel like you've really accomplished something for the day. And you get a chance to actually just stop and really think about the story before you move on to the next story. That's what I really like about anthologies, and that's what I really like about writing short stories as well, is because you can tell a whole tale in such a condensed amount of time. I really like that. So looking forward to that one. And of course, because I have been cast in Little Women, I feel like I should read Little Women. This has been lent to me by one of my mom's friends, and you can see how very well loved this poor book is. So it's a modern abridged edition, which was published in, let's see if I can find a... It looks like 70-something. So I'm quite looking forward to that. Actually, I might have to move this one to the top of my TBR pile because I should read the book before we get too far into rehearsals, because I do want all of that motivation. It is abridged, but I'm okay with the fact that it's abridged. It'll just help me get through it faster. I also just received Zero to Bone by Jane Saville, which I'm quite looking forward to, because most people, I don't know if you know, but I do have an erotica pseudonym where I do write erotica work on the side, and this is the erotica pseudonym of an author I really respect. So when I found out that she had written this book, I went to go look it up, and it's got some of the most stunning reviews I've ever seen on Goodreads. I immediately ordered it as soon as I read those reviews, because They're fantastic. So Jane Savelle's Zero to Bone, which I hear has just been picked up for graphic novel adaptation, which I'm really looking forward to, but I want to read the book before I get the graphic novel. This is on my pile, of course, because I am that kind of nerd. Before Welcome to Night Vale came out, I was actually trying to come up with an idea to do a podcast-style audio drama myself. And then when I heard that these people Fink and Cranor had come up with this Welcome to Night Vale, I listened to, I think it was the first 10 episodes were out then, and I went, oh no, this is way better than whatever I was thinking of. Oh, this is great. I actually kind of fell into the gloomies a little bit because I was like, they've stolen my idea and they've done it better than me. But obviously, there's still so much space out there for radio dramas, especially free radio dramas. So I'm still trying to figure out what I would do for my own radio drama if I did one. But in the meantime, I have been listening to Welcome to Night Vale, and it is delightfully weird, and I love it. And I'm so envious of my friends who have gone to be able to watch a live recording of the program. Actually, what I would really like to do is I would like to act on the program. So, Fink, if you're watching this, I'm sure you're not, please, may I come onto the show and do a guest voice. Or a recurring voice. I would love to do a recurring voice too. I love audio dramas. I adore them. So yeah, anyone else out there, I've got a full recording studio in my office. If you want me to come and do any acting for you, I'd be happy to do it. But I'm very happy. I'm very excited to read this book. This is going to be like my guilty pleasure book. What else do I have? I have Kit's Law by Donna Morrissey. Which was Canada Booksellers Association Libris Award winner. That's not why I chose it. I chose it because it's set in Newfoundland, and I was in Newfoundland a little over a year ago, and I really enjoyed my time there. And I have read and watched Random Passage, and I've started to read a lot more Newfoundlander fiction. I actually really adore the cookbook For Maids Who Brew and Bake because it has little stories in it about the hometowns, but it also has modern equivalents of 17th century Newfoundland recipes, which is really tasty. I made the bread, and it is so good. And I've been reading a lot of stuff by Flanker Press out there, and I love it. So, and one of the things I would like to do in the future, once I'm done the Accidental Turn series, the Skylark Saga, and this potential either 1 book or 6 books, I don't know how this series is going to go. This other thing that I'm working on, after all of that, I would like to write a fantasy story set in 17th century Newfoundland. I would really love to do that. I have all these really great ideas for it, but I'm not going to share them yet. So this is, yet another book from Newfoundland that will help me make sure that I'm getting all my research correct. I have Country Matters by Michael Korda, The Pleasures and Tribulations of Moving from a Big City to an Old Country Farmhouse. This was given to me by a cousin when I moved out of Toronto and into the small town I'm living in now as part of a joke, but also because a lot of my family is rural Ontario. Both my parents grew up kind of in small town Ontario. My grandmother still lives just beside the farm that she worked her whole life. And I've always sort of wanted to also set a story in small town Ontario about a family that's been there for, pretty much since the beginning of colonization, because my family has pretty much been here since the beginning of colonization. So my old family farmhouse, or the cabin, I suppose, was built in like 1827, and it's still in the family, and I'm now the family historian and archivist. I'm the person who's in charge of our Ancestry.ca account. I'm the person who's in charge of updating our family tree. So I've always wanted to write a story about a big multi-generational immigrant family from Europe who comes to Canada, and also try to do it in a way that's very sensitive to the issues of colonization. I have a book that I got from, I Kickstarted. Well, I didn't Kickstart it. I supported them on Kickstarters. It's called Second Class Super. It's by Annie and David Peralty, and it's about the people who live in a world where superpowers exist, but it's about the people who don't have superpowers. And I really enjoyed the graphic novel Powers. So when I heard that there was a book sort of like Powers, I thought, ooh, this will be fantastic. And I supported them on Kickstarter. And I'm quite excited about it. But I think what I'm most excited about is that it's about a 32-year-old geeky girl, which is me. I never get to see myself in fiction. You know, normally it's 12 to 25-year-old women or older women who are, you know, now mums and grandmoms. It's really nice to see somebody my age in fiction, which I'm excited about. And my last book, the one that I'm actually partially through right now, is Performance in a Leading Role by Mad Laurie. It's not actually a book. It's a fan fiction. It's a Sherlock fan fiction, that is. I mean, look at the size of that spine. It is on Archive of Our Own, and the author, Laurie, and I wrote a fan fiction based on her fan fiction called To a Stranger, and it did very well on fanfiction.net, and in asking for permission to write the story, and in writing the story, I worked very closely with Laurie. And so as a thank you gift at the end of all things, I thought, wouldn't it be fun to bind this whole thing together as a book? So then she has like a book version of this massive fan fiction that she wrote, and she was graciously allowed me to add onto. And so I put it together in CreateSpace, and I got two of my friends, Adrian Cress and Ruth Ann Reed, who are way better at Photoshop than I am. I have no skills whatsoever. Adrian designed the cover, Ruth Ann did all the typesetting for the cover, and then I typeset the interior of the book. So right now, I'm just sort of rereading it and going back through and enjoying all the little moments that I really loved about the fan fiction. It's very weird to see a fan fiction in book form, but Laurie really loved the gift. I heard she was very excited about it. So that's great. It's a shame that I can't, that we can't put it up for sale, but of course, like, the BBC would sue the pants off of us. But it's a nice little art project. It's a book-shaped artifact, not actually a book. Anyway, that's my TBR pile, and today I actually finished a Harlequin book, A Lady for Lord Randall, which was a lot of fun. I do love my Regency romance novels. I love romance novels. I think romance novels are phenomenal because they're one of the most feminist pieces of fiction. Romance novels say to women, yes, you're allowed to want. Yes, you're allowed to be sexual beings. Yes, you're allowed to be romantic beings. And your dreams matter and your dreams come true. And I think that's the most important message of quote-unquote trash romances or dollar store, dime store romances. I think there's nothing trashy about them. I think they're amazing because they teach women that you're allowed to want and you're allowed to have what you want and be happy in it. So, on that note, there's my TBR pile. If I'm going to get any way through it, I better start now. So thank you for asking about what I'm reading, and I look forward to discussing the books with you later. If you have any questions about the books I'm reading, or if you have any suggestions about what I should read next, or if you'd like to read along with me, feel free to leave a message in the comments. And have a nice week, internets. Bye-bye!